Herkese merhabalar. Techmakers IWD Turkey 2021 için bugün bu arada birinden ses yansıyor aşırı derecede. Seslerinizi ben konuşurken kapatırsanız kızlar çok güzel olur. Dinleyicilerimiz için problem olmasın. Teşekkür ederim. Herkese yeniden merhabalar. Turkey Techmakers IWD için bugün burada sizlerle birlikteyiz. Öncelikle sizlere kendimizi tanıtmak ve ardından program akışımızdan bahsetmek istiyoruz. Daha sonra sizleri Google Geliştirici Koordinatörümüz Merve İşler'in keynote sunumuyla baş başa bırakacağız. Ben başlayayım isterseniz kendimi tanıtmaya. Ben Nur Yetim ve WTM Sivas organizatörüyüm. WTM ile ilgili etkinliklere katılmayı çok seviyorum. Etkinlikleri organize etmeyi çok seviyorum ve bunlardan aşırı derecede keyif alıyorum gerçekten. Şimdi de sizler için aynı şekilde kendimin keyif aldığı tarzda etkinlikler organize etmek ve sizler için en verimli olan konuşmacıları bulup güzel bir etkinlik ortaya çıkarmak istedik. İsterseniz program akışından birazcık bahsedelim, aradaki sürprizlerden bahsedelim, bu etkinliği kimlerle beraber organize ettiğimizden bahsedelim. Tek tek arkadaşlarıma sözü yönlendirmek istiyorum. İnci, özür diliyorum. Burcu sendeyiz.
Teşekkür ederim Nur. Herkese selam. Yayınımıza hepiniz hoş geldiniz arkadaşlar. Ben WTM Manisa ekibinden Burcu. Öncelikle haftalardır arka tarafta yayın için emek veren bu güzel ekibe teşekkür ederim. Sizlere program akışı hakkında bilgi vermek istiyorum. Yayınımız 2 gün sürecek. İlk gün yani bugün İngilizce sunumlar eşliğinde devam edecek. Yarın ise Türkçe sunumlar olacak. Aralarda bizler de olacak. Yayın akışı ve program hakkında detaylı bilgiyi açıklama kısmında bulabilirsiniz. Ben de sözü Kübra arkadaşıma bırakıyorum o zaman.
Herkese tekrar merhaba, hoş geldiniz Nemrut. Adım Kübra, GDG Kırklareli ve WTM Kırklareli organizatörüyüm. Bugün kahve çekilişimiz olacak. Sunum aralarında olacağı için yayın lütfen takipte kalın. Bu arada kanala abone olmayı ve like atmayı unutmayınız. Buradan konuşmacılara ve katılımcılara iyi yayınlar demek istiyorum. Sözü İnci'ye bırakıyorum.
Teşekkürler Kübra. Herkese merhaba. Ben WTM Denizli organizatörlerinden İnci. Haftalardır arka planda emek veren çok büyük bir ekip var. Sizlere onları tanıtmak istiyorum. İşte gerek yayında gerekse arka planda emek veren değerli ekiplerimiz. WTM Adana, WTM Kırklareli, WTM İstanbul, WTM Bursa, WTM Çanakkale, WTM Düzce, WTM Tekirdağ, WTM Muğla, WTM Denizli, WTM Eskişehir, WTM Mersin, WTM Ankara, WTM Sivas, WTM Zonguldak, WTM Kütahya, WTM Konya, WTM Elazığ, WTM Manisa, WTM İzmir, WTM Kocaeli, WTM Sakarya, WTM Isparta, WTM Edirne ve WTM Trabzon. Gördüğünüz gibi çok büyük bir ekip ve emek var. Hepsine WTM Türkiye ekibi adına teşekkür ediyoruz.
Bu arada gerçekten İnci çok güzel bir yere değindi. Şöyle ki burada yayına çıkan belirli kişiler olabiliyor ama bunun arkasında çok büyük bir ekip var ve herkes işin çok küçük bir yerinden tutuyor ya da büyük görevler, sorumluluklar üstleniyor. Hepimizin farklı işleri olduğu halde. Gerçekten amacımız sadece şu, nasıl farklı etkinliklere katıldığımızda aşırı derecede keyif alabiliyorsak, biz de bu etkinliği oluştururken dedik ki global bir etkinlik yapalım, herkes için erişim sağlayabilelim. Ve gerçekten en iyisi olsun yapabildiğimizin. Çünkü online'da şöyle bir avantajımız var. Bir tık uzağında. Bu yüzden hani bir tıkla bağlanabildiğimiz herkese ulaşmaya çalıştık. Sizin için en verimli olacak şekilde. Sizler de konuşmacılarımıza sorularınızı chat bölümünden belirtebilirsiniz. Bizimle ilgili sormak istediğiniz tüm sorularımızı topluluğumuz hakkında olabilir, GDG, VTM'ler hakkında olabilir. Chat bölümüne istediğiniz gibi belirtebilirsiniz. Oradan size cevap vereceğiz. Bunu da belirtmek istiyorum. Bunun haricinde biraz önce bahsettiğim gibi sözü daha fazla uzatmak, sizi sıkmak istemiyorum. Çünkü Google Geliştirici İşleri Koordinatörümüz Merve İşler keynote sunumuyla bizlerle birlikte olacak. Dilerseniz saatlerimize bakalım. Evet, Merve'yi çağırabiliriz. O zaman şimdi karşınızda Google Geliştirici İşleri Koordinatörümüz Merve İşler'in keynote sunumu.
Evet arkadaşlar selamlar. Hoş geldin. Hoş bulduk. Nasılsınız?
İyiyiz. Sen nasılsın Merve?
İyiyim. Ben de iyiyim. Çok teşekkür ederim.
İyiyiz. Sen nasılsın Merve?
Çok iyiyim. Çok teşekkür ederim.
İyiyiz. Sen nasılsın Merve?
Ben de iyiyim. Harika bir gün oldu bence. Çok güzel bir başlangıç ve bu saydığınız isimler, şehirler ne kadar çok var. Yani gerçekten zaten organizasyon toplantılarında da görüyorduk birçoğunu. Ama böyle şehir şehir düşününce normalde böyle tek tek giderdik oralara fiziksel olarak. Şu anda herkesi bir arada görmek bence çok güzel bir şey. Hepinizin emeklerine sağlık.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Teşekkürler.
Şimdi bugünün ajandasında böyle baktığımda herkes genelde İngilizce konuşuyordu. Ben de o yüzden dedim hani sunum madem İngilizce gidecek ben de İngilizce başlayayım öyle gidelim diye dedim. En azından daha sonrasında izlemek isteyenler tek bir şekilde izleyebilsinler diye. Umarım dil probleminde sıkıntı yaşamayız ama merak etmeyin yarın da zaten Türkçe bir şekilde benzer konulardan bahsediyor olacağız. Ama bugün bir bakalım gerçek orijinal dilinde programların globalden geldiği dilde neler oluyor, nasıl gidiyor diye bu şekilde anlatıyor olacağım. Tekrardan çok teşekkürler böyle güzel bir etkinliği bir araya getiren herkese.
Bu arada bizi izleyen, şu anda dinleyen gerçekten herkese çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Merve'nin de bahsettiği gibi bugün globaldeyiz. Bugün İngilizce sunumlarımız ama yarın Türkçe sunumlarımız sizlerle birlikte olacak. 2 gün boyunca sizlere en verimli şekilde olmak için buradayız. Daha fazla uzatmıyorum. Merve'nin sunumuyla sizi baş başa bırakıyorum.
Çok teşekkürler. Evet, ben ekranımı paylaşayım ve daha sonrasında başlayayım. Tabii ki bu etkinlik İngilizce olacağı için İngilizce devam edeceğim arkadaşlar. Ama sorularınızı herhangi bir dilde sorabilirsiniz. Bu konuda hiçbir sıkıntı yok. Rahat hissedebilirsiniz bu konuda. So, let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to International Women's Day Turkey event powered by Women Techmakers, and my name is Merve İşler, and I'm Developer Relations Coordinator at Google. And also I'm managing Women Techmakers and Google Developer Student Clubs program in the region. And in this event, definitely, probably you know that, we will focus to celebrate and provide visibility for the incredible contributions of women all around the world. And additionally, thanks a lot for the wonderful Women Techmakers Ambassadors and GDG organizers, and also DSC leads who bring pieces together to make it all happen. And I know firsthand how complicated and time-consuming it can be put on events like this. And this is really like a giant event. And I want to express my deepest thankfulness that you all dedicated your time, energy, and passion into putting this event together over the past months and maybe weeks, yeah. And looking forward to talk more about diversity and inclusion events throughout the 2021 and train thousands via academies, hackathons, trainings, and webinars. So let's begin. So first of all, definitely I would like to talk about the International Women's Day. And maybe most of you know that like International Women's Day occurs on March 8th every year. And it marks a moment to celebrate and provide visibility for the incredible contributions of women around the world. And it's a call to action for accelerating gender parity. And for past 9 years, Women Techmakers has celebrated IWDs throughout the months of March and April. And 2020, in spite of a global pandemic, a quick pivot to virtual, Women Techmakers Ambassadors reached over 80,000 worldwide throughout International Women's Day campaign. And probably most of you remember that Together We Rise campaign. And 2021, like this year, we hope to inspire even more women and allies across the globe in partnership with you. And we're also excited to attend the International Women's Day campaigns, all the events with the GDGs and also developer student clubs communities in effort to work toward and the gender parity and equity in tech together. So let's talk about this year's theme. And probably like most of you use the Courage to Create hashtag. If you didn't use it yet, please use it. And please just share with the people. And this year, our theme is based on the incredible strength and the power women have shown in the face of adversity. And we recognize that there were tremendous challenges over the past year, and especially for women, from dealing with COVID to broader issues of racial justice and sometimes human rights. But we remain hopeful about the future, and we believe that together our community can create positive change throughout the world. So, what will you have the courage to create in 2021? Please just think about it, and please just tweet it or maybe post it on your Instagram stories, and please just share it, okay? Share with everyone. And also, I want to mention about the achievements of last year International Women's Day events in Turkey, Central Asia, and definitely Caucasus. And remember the last year when the COVID started. I don't know, but it was incredible for us because we didn't give up. And from mid to March and late May, Women Techmakers Ambassadors in our region hosted 32 International Women's Day events. And I think like only 5 of them were physical. And afterwards, they hosted 27 virtual and across 31 cities in 6 countries. You probably know that, like we, as a developer relations team, me, Beyza, and Barış, we're supporting 10 countries in the region, and 6 of them hosted those events, so which is an incredible number. And we are really proud to wrap up this as successful like International Women's Season, and despite COVID-19. So thank you for hosting these incredible events. I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be part of these events last year and this year. All the lineups of talented and brilliant women, I also want to acknowledge and thank the ambassadors who had come together to put on these events. This is indeed a result of your hard work and support. Thank you again. And definitely, as you know, that we will continue to fight the good fight to provide visibility, community, and resources women in technology. So yeah, let's talk about women's online safety a bit. As you know that Women's Online Safety Program is a series of initiatives and launched by women techmakers to increase the status of women's safety online throughout the training and hackathon events. And according to Jigsaw, women are 27 times more likely to experience online violence than men. And 50% of women impacted by online violence fear of their physical safety as well. And we launched Women's Online Safety Program last year, February, and as a key commitment of Google to contribute to women thriving online. And we know that women won't be online if they're not safe online. So we host a train a trainer and a 90-minute online safety training and hackathons for women and allies across the globe. And we're committed to building a tech industry where all women can thrive in technology. And we know women cannot thrive in tech if they're not safe online. So we're committed to supporting hackathons, trainings, and TTTs, train the trainers, probably most of you took it before, for women to be safe online. And as probably you know that, Women's Online Safety Program consists 3 components. And these 3 components I would like to mention. First of all, as you know that Women's Online Safety Trainings, the online safety campaign provides women and allies with the tools to be safe and thrive online. And when women can explain and understand the violence they're confronted with, and when they violence and what tools at their disposal to be safer. And they're more likely to be safer online. And this training introduces women and allies to the causes of online violence facing women, ways online violence manifests, and tools to push against online violence facing women. And the next step is definitely online safety train the training. And this training equips those who want to bring our programming to their institutions or community to provide women with the tools, stay safe online. This is the train the trainer version. And the last year, also we gave a lot of train the trainer to the communities in our region. And definitely the last but not the least, and probably most of you hosted those hackathons, You were one of the organizers in the region. And the Women Safety Hackathon invites women to create technical solutions to the problem of violence against women online. And each hackathon will focus on a localized problem statement, and participants will be tasked with scoping and pitching a product solution. And our goal is to create innovative and product solutions and identify a winning idea as a per hackathon in the regions. And last year, Women's Online Safety Hackathon was a blast. And while Women Techmakers program aims to increase the visibility of women online, as you know that it's inevitable to ensure their security in the online environment. And in this period, it was very important to be able to raise awareness on the issue and to guide them in order to protect themselves and the women around them. And Women Techmakers Ambassadors in Turkey came together and hosted Women's Online Safety Hackathon. And it was the very first one in the world. And it was virtually on August 28th, 29th, and 30th, and made a huge impact with the high visibility features in the national leaves, as you can see. And there were around 200 participants attended hackathon across 55 cities. And there was 26 teams developed their tech-based solutions, and they presented around 20 new projects. And also, I would like to mention about one of the projects, and I think one of the best winning ideas, which is a cyber guard, detects cyber harassment by analyzing the messages sent to the user with artificial intelligence and natural language processing. And the team developed an artificial intelligence model by training 35,000 tweet data to classify whether the messages received on the phone are cyber harassment. Thus, they had an algorithm that could detect and attack a person at a rate of 85%. And it then directs the users the appropriate legal solutions and psychological support. The team plans to add a psychologist and a lawyer support to the application in the future. I hope they've done it. And it aims to minimize the damage of fear and anxiety by examining all the incoming messages on the phone and telling the victim that to do when cyber harassment or cyberbullying is detected. And even contacting with the volunteer psychologist online in the app if needed is coming feature. And the next one. Probably you're all looking forward to see what is Women Developers Academy and what is next for us. Because now, like this year, 2021, we are launching Women Developers Academy. So, what is Women's Developers Academy? The Women's Developers Academy, powered by Women Techmakers, will equip participants with the skills, resources, and the support they need to become leaders in the industry, public speaking, and other community contributions. If you're a professional IT practitioner, for example, if you're a software engineer or data scientist or developer or something like that, looking to land your first speaking opportunity, improve your public speaking skills, and build your confidence and network, this month-long program is for you. And you will have a weekly workshops focusing on a specific topic and have access weekly one-on-one mentor sessions facilitated by Googlers and technical experts within our Turkish developer community. So, beyond gaining new skills, you'll also get to meet, connect with the network with other developers who are on a similar journey and support you to find the speaking opportunities through our developer community network and to showcase your newly developed presentations. Let's work together to bring diversity to the stage, because impact doesn't end there. It's where it starts. And probably you're asking for some questions on your mind. Who are we looking for? What do you expect from us? The most important thing is knowledge, passion, and experience of the following technologies. The one of them is definitely Android, Google Cloud, TensorFlow, machine learning, or Flutter, Firebase, or maybe Kotlin, Go, or web technologies. Google Workspace. These are all okay for us. And some public speaking experience is super important for us. And definitely your motivation to be active and vocal in the developer community, to keen on to participate as a speaker in developer conferences and meetups. And it's available through late May to late June to attend all workshops and mentoring sessions, which are going to be virtually, as well as commit to our program requirements. And this program is based in Turkey, Central Asia, and Caucasus, the people who are in those countries. And definitely, this year, we will make it in English, but maybe next year, we will try to make it in Turkish, but next year, maybe we can try it in English version for Turkey. And definitely, we're looking for women and other underrepresented genders within the tech are eligible to apply for this academy. And please note that applying doesn't mean that your spot is confirmed. We'll follow up with to confirm if your application has been successful by May 10th. And if you're interested in learning more and getting involved with Women Developers Academy, check out our website and sign up. And applications have started today. And I just want to talk about some global updates for lastly. I don't know if you heard about the Google Org Impact Challenge. Impact Challenge is pretty important for us because they launched it after the International Women's Day. And we're committing $25 million to organizations and supporting economic empowerment for women and girls. And gender inequity is one of the most urgent challenges we face as a society. And COVID-19 has put the economic future of women and girls even greater risk. At Google.org, we believe that strong big problems requires collective action, and people closest to the challenges are often those closest to the solution. And we want to support the organizations helping women and girls turn in their economic potential into power, and from programs addressing systemic barriers to economic equality and those cultivating entrepreneurship and developing financial independence and more. If you're interested in learning more and getting involved with the Impact Challenge, please check out the website. And also, it wasn't that all. And also, we had some previous funding commitments to gender equity. Please just check out the website and learn more about it. And for lastly, you're never too small to make a difference. So, as you can see, Women Techmakers creates a visibility, community, and resources for women in technology by hosting events, offering free trainings, piloting new initiatives with different groups and partners around the world. Whether you are exploring a job in tech or we are looking to improve your influence of your work, we offer resources for women in all phases of their career. And we are proud to produce content by and for women in technology industry. If you're interested in learning more and getting involved with the Women Techmakers, check out our website and sign up to become a member or maybe ambassador. So thank you for listening and joining this amazing event. Hope you will enjoy and hope you can learn a lot today. So thank you.
Merhabalar tekrardan. Teşekkür ederiz Merve.
Ben teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkürler.
Umarım güzel haberler vermişimdir.
Bu arada gayet güzeldi. Tekrardan belirtmek istiyorum çünkü sorular çok geliyor. Türkiye IWD yaptığımız için biz konuşmalarımızı Türkçe olarak yapıyoruz. Fakat izleyicilerimiz sunumları dinlediği için sunumlarımız bugünlük İngilizce dilinde. Yarın Türkçe olacak. Bunu belirtmek istedim çünkü bu anlamda sorular birazcık çok geldi. Şimdi daha fazla sözü uzatmadan Merve sana sözü vereyim. Pınar Hanım'ı davet edelim istersen.
Tabii ki. O zaman bence Pınar Hanım gelmeli ve muhteşem sunumuyla bizi Google Cloud hakkında aydınlatmalı diyorum. Pınar selam, hoş geldin.
Selamlar kızlar. Çok sevindim sizi gördüğüme tekrar. Çok teşekkür
Biz de
ederim beni
sizi-
buraya davet ettiğiniz için. Çok
geldin.
heyecanlıyım, çok mutluyum. Hani böyle bir zamanda sizin de böyle bir event gerçekleştiriyor olmanız beni de gururlandırıyor açıkçası. Harika. İşte bol şans diliyorum 2 gün için. Harika bir içerik, harika bir ajanda. Tekrar tebrikler.
Çok teşekkürler.
Teşekkür ederim.
Arkasında gerçekten çok büyük bir Women Techmakers ekibi var. Ve az önce belki duymuşsundur, saydılar. Her şehirden var diyebiliriz neredeyse. O yüzden böyle olması gerçekten çok güzel. Hani diversity
verici.
konuşurken diversity'nin ötesini görmemiz bence de harika. Ben de onlarla gerçekten gurur duyuyorum. İyi ki
Harika.
burada hep beraber çalışıyoruz ve bir şeyler yapmaya çalışıyoruz. Sana da çok teşekkürler katıldığın için. Umarım çok keyifli bir sunum olur.
Ben teşekkür ederim. Bugün biraz işlerin teknik tarafına bakıyor olacağız, teknik inovasyon tarafına. Tabii ki Google Cloud'la ilgili bir sunum yapıyor olacağım. İnşallah herkes için ufuk açıcı olur. İyi bilgiler verebilirim bundan sonrası için. Herkes belki bu tarafa da yönelmek isterse bilgi ufuk açıcı olur herkes için. Teşekkür ederim. Ekranımı paylaşarak başlayabilirim herhalde.
Harika. Sahne senin o zaman. Görüşürüz.
Tamam.
Hoşçakal.
Tamamdır. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hemen sunumumu buluyorum. Super. Let me switch to English then. Perfect. I guess you see my screen. Perfect. Let's start. Thank you for inviting me today. It was a really incredible event with a very nice agenda. So I also appreciate the team's effort in arranging this event in this unprecedented times. I appreciate that really. So today we'll be talking through some delivery challenges and how to deliver software at scale using a cloud operating model with Google Cloud Anthos. I hope maybe some of you hear about Anthos and Kubernetes and how Google is innovating in these areas as well. So let's start. So we'll first go through Google's innovative contributions, and then second, how Google Cloud Anthos provides key capabilities behind delivering innovation at scale, and finally, a slightly deeper discussion behind the components and a really exciting demo on Google Cloud Console. And first, let's start. I mean, what does it look like to deliver software to billions of users around the world? So you're all using Google and its apps throughout your days. So Google's leadership in engineering practices and principles is only highlighted by the volume of numbers that you see in this slide as well, the number of developers, the lines of code and builds per day. Everything at Google runs in a container. So believe it or not, it is true. We start over 4 billion containers per week to operate this environment, including the Google Cloud. So this is a stat from mid last year, but I hope it is really growing a lot exponentially throughout the following years as well. So Google is fundamentally built on engineering first culture. I would like to emphasize this today as well. Because I mean, our products operate at cloud native scale from day one that fundamentally help our customers and you to adopt this model as well. So what is our innovation timeline? So let us just walk through it. So it's a nice one. So our innovation timeline begins in 1988 by building an abstraction to orchestrate fleets of hardware within Google known as Borg. So yes, it is inspired from StarTech, as you can imagine. So Borg is a large-scale internal cluster management system that run hundreds and thousands of jobs from many thousands of different applications across many clusters. So each with up to tens of thousands of machines itself. So the learnings and technology coming from Borg led to such innovations such as bringing containerized processes to the Linux kernel, for example. So Kubernetes represents the external-facing implementation of Borg, announced in mid-2014, as you know. So Google Cloud launches its first platform as a service known as App Engine on 2008. So it was really early times of the Google Cloud, and at the time it was really not well understood to deploy a line of code to Google Cloud App Engine and it runs it for you. So, but as of now, it is just a really easy way of deploying your code right now. So over the last 15 years, we have released 13K projects, of which 3K are 7-day active projects. So this is really our commitment to the open source community as well. And we are still the #1 contributor to the Kubernetes project on GitHub. So Google remains the top open source contributor to the whole CNCF project. So that's why we are believing in that our customers or end users or developers just enjoying these open source commitment from Google as well. Cool, very nice. So what about the traditional IT models? What companies are doing right now and how they should go into cloud operating model? So today, companies that you are working in or you're just working with aren't looking to optimize existing processes, right? So they are looking for some new models. Now, finding some new models isn't so easy. So they work with via discovery or experimentation to figure out what works and what doesn't. So we have runtime and build environments, both managed by different teams in your companies that tries to improve some metrics. So for example, uptime, for example, release frequency and reliability or simplicity. So whereas build and runtime teams operates under conflicting objectives. So this happens in everyday life, right? So operators rewarded for stability, minimizing change, whereas the developers rewarded through new features, which is archived by maximizing change and enabling experimentation. The impact of friction, so we call it a friction within these two teams, within the release processes extends beyond simple misaligned teams dynamics. So it impacts the organizational performance as well. So we are also enriching to solve this conflict with DORA. So what is DORA? Google's DORA team conducted a 6-year research program, which validated a number of technical processes, measurements, cultural capabilities that drive higher software delivery and organizational performance. So can we apply innovation thinking to solve this problem, do you think? How to solve this friction? So, okay, we have some capabilities like DORA. Okay, Google has some innovations, but how would we do that in the cloud operating model? So what might a model or a platform look like to eliminate this friction? So traditionally, companies look at cloud as predominantly as an infrastructure, like servers, like network storage, essentially a box of tools requiring custom assembly in order to realize a valuable outcome. It is not the key benefit of the cloud provides, right? So it is not the way you should be thinking. So you should think much more beyond that. So we just, with Anthos, and our philosophy with Anthos is that to enable an application-centric view of the cloud for the companies and developers as well. So it's designed to eliminate friction in the software delivery lifecycle that we managed before. So there's a common infrastructure to a central control plane that has policy servers, cluster management that you see in the center of the slide, and other operational components as well. So beyond favorable economies of scale, Google has invested heavily in the global network infrastructure as well. And data center facilities as well. So lift and shift rarely provides a cost justification in this space. So this is the high-level view of the cloud operating model and how we match with our products and services in Google Cloud. So here is the picture. We put the specific Anthos components names here, depicted as control plane in the middle, that are the ingredients for frictionless modern delivery. And Anthos provides the pre-assembled platform, which enables architectures that can split workloads around cloud and on-premises, and which are managed in a unified mode. So believe it or not, it is 100% a software solution that runs in your environment, in your data center, or in Google Cloud, or in any other hyperscaler as well. So the data plane that is really very top of this slide becomes an implementation detail, something that is a software defined and ephemeral. So configurations are maintained consistently and governed through policies. The configuration management component ensures that the servers and the clusters are in a consistent state all the time. So you don't have to worry about your distributed application deployments. And what else? The objective of Anthos isn't limited to simply, getting the existing applications to run in the cloud, right? But rather to provide a fully automated toolchain that allows applications to measurably benefit from running in the cloud, because we have to develop it really in an agile manner. We have to deploy it in a very agile manner in this times requirements. So it also embeds practices and principles leveraged by our Google engineering and site reliability engineering teams. And these are using the common software-defined techniques, such as infrastructure as a code, GitOps, while leveraging the Google Cloud-ready components that scale horizontally as well. So by this means, Anthos enables us to industrialize the development supply chain from ideation to the outcome as well. So this is the idea. So if you have an idea, if you have a project, or if you have anything that leads to innovation, you can use Anthos as a platform to yourself to serve it in a unified matter, even if it is on premises or in cloud or in the other hyperscalers as well. So this is the key. And it provides some ingredients for the frictionless software delivery pipeline as well. Perfect. So what else? So I would like to go slightly deeper discussion behind the components as well, because these are really key. So the Anthos platform in the Google Cloud Console provides you with a secure, unified user interface to view and manage your applications, including a structured view of your resources as well. As the number of Kubernetes clusters in an organization increases, it can be difficult to understand and what's running on each and so forth. So this view and this unified view helps us to unblock this requirements as well. And what else? Google Kubernetes engine. So Kubernetes anchors the Anthos solution. So it is the key engine, and we are just relying on our Kubernetes engine for Anthos as well. So it provides the underlying layer when it comes to compute runtime. We call it, do you know how we call it Kubernetes? It is the Linux of the cloud. Right? So because now everybody is adopting Kubernetes, so everybody is containerizing its application. So it is now the Linux of the cloud. So GKE is secured and fully managed Kubernetes service on Google Cloud. So we are running it more than 6 years right now. It starts quickly with single-click clusters and scale up to 15,000 nodes. So leverage a high availability control plane, including multi-zonal and regional clusters as well. And you eliminate the operational overhead with industry-first 4-way auto-scaling and release channels as well. So it's just really cool, and it's the start of your containerized journey as well. So what about Service Mesh? I hope you heard about some Service Mesh features and capabilities running in the overall industry standards as well. So when you move into microservices architecture, this presents numerous benefits, but also introduce challenges like added complexity and fragmentation from different workloads, right? So the Anthos platform simplifies service delivery across the board, from the traffic management and mesh telemetry to securing communications between services. So Service Mesh is the Google's fully managed service mesh that lets you easily manage these complex environments. It is powered by Istio. It is the open source name of this project. So it's what else we can do with Service Mesh. It does better diagnostics by integration with cloud logging and monitoring and trace. So you can monitor your service level objectives per service and set targets and latencies and availabilities. So it is really cool, and I will also show this in my demo as well. And you can empower also your service operators, to secure service-to-service and end-user service communication with a single-click MTLS installation as well. And of course, you can decide who has access to what services in your mesh. So it is easy to use role-based access control. And it has critical fail recovery features out of the box that can be configured dynamically at runtime. So you don't need to code anything. You don't need to inject any code in your application. So it's all done at runtime. So what else? We have embedded site reliability engineering principles. I highly recommend the book from Google called The Site Reliability Engineering for you to read through. So we also embed those principles in Anthos as well. Providing the means to set the service level objectives, work within the error budgets, and set compliance targets as well. So by this means, we are shifting the focus from organizations to effectively balancing the feature releases with system reliability as well. So this is a very cool feature, and this is really different from the other hyperscalers as well. Very nice. So what else for the developers and the developer-centric development? So we have Cloud Run for Anthos. So this is the serverless containers that is running on our Anthos platform as well. So it lets you run serverless workloads on Kubernetes, leveraging the power of the GKE as well. So it is powered by Knative, another open source project that enables the portability of your application. So you write your code on your way by deploying any container that listens for requests or events. So build applications in your favorite language, Go, Python, Java, Ruby, Node.js, and more, and with your favorite dependencies and tools, and deploy them in seconds. This is the advantage of Cloud Run that helps developers to containerize and run in a serverless manner. So Cloud Run abstracts away all infrastructure management by automatically scaling up and down from zero almost instantaneously. So it's really cool. And it only charges you for the exact resources you use. So you don't have to worry about the details of the containers and so forth. So you just write your code, containerize it, and deploy it. That's it. Marketplace. So, I mean, when you're working in an enterprise environment, you may need an ecosystem of applications that can that would like to enrich your application as well. So you can use Anthos Marketplace, which can deploy applications to your Anthos clusters, no matter where they are running as well. So we have direct integration with your existing billing accounts and supported directly by these vendors as well. So we have storage solutions, database solutions, continuous integration, monitoring solutions, security solutions in our marketplace. So if you would like to install a Grafana, for example, you can just open the marketplace and install it on your Anthos clusters as well. So it's a one-click approach. What about migration? So if you already have running machines, running applications in a Windows or Linux machines, so how do I containerize and migrate them to an Anthos cluster or any GKE environment? So migrate for Anthos is here for that. So it's intelligently extracts, migrates, and modernize applications to run natively on containers in GKE and Anthos clusters. So it has an automated approach, extracts the critical application elements from the virtual machine. So you can easily insert those elements into containers and into your Google Kubernetes engine as well. So what else we can say? So it's just insert those elements into containers. So because we don't need the VM layers in the Kubernetes cluster, so it eliminates that to become unnecessary with containers as well. So this significantly reduces the cost and labor that will be required for manual application modernization. So of course, not all of the applications are ready or eligible for this one-click migration, but for the ones that are ready, it will be easy to migrate with Migrate for Anthos. So what about config management? So with config management, you can create a common configuration across your infrastructure, including the policies that apply to your on-premises or across your clouds as well. So config management evaluates the changes and rolls them out to Kubernetes clusters so that you so that your desired state is always reflected. So it's really cool from the operations perspective. So you define and enforce policies, and for example, you put some security guardrails and you maintain control over your distributed clusters wherever they are running. It's like a GitOps approach. So you put your configurations in a central GitHub repository, and from that repo, Anthos config management reads the configurations and tries to manage all of the clusters in a desired state all the time. It's just really cool. So what about CI/CD? So of course, we don't forget about CI/CD with Anthos. So modern CI/CD with Anthos gives you some tools and expertise to build a secure and scalable and automated CI/CD pipeline for your development. And of course, traditional software development and delivery often means some proprietary tools that can be expensive and immobile. And Google Cloud's approach here is using open source and making it vendor neutral and portable. So for example, with Knative, with Istio, we also use Scaffold for developers and Artifact Registry that stores the container images for the CI as well. So whatever you're comfortable right now, so you can just easily integrate it with Anthos environment or your GKE clusters as well. It is really cool, and we don't want you to lock into a specific technology as well. Right, demo time. So I think I need to share my whole screen here, because otherwise you cannot see my whole dashboard. Yeah, here it is. Cool, I share my whole screen right now. So now I will just show you how Anthos or our dashboards or unified management and GKE clusters look like. So where we start? We start with the Anthos sample deployment on the marketplace. So it deploys a real Anthos environment with a GKE cluster, service mesh, and application with multiple microservices. It's a fictional bank, like called Bank of Anthos. So you can also explore Anthos features out of your interest. You can also check the GitHub repo that I'm showing right now for the details on your own interest and try to understand what is the architecture and what are the services as well. So this is developed by our developer relations team to simplify the experience with Anthos. Then, with your deployed app, Anthos provides a view of your applications, right, as we talk. So the application resources, the clusters, services, workloads, it gives you a view of your resources at a very high level while letting you drill down the low-level information that you need. So first, we see here a service mesh section that tells you that we have almost 9 services, that one service should be checked, and a cluster status. All clusters are healthy right now because I have only one cluster. When you click on the view clusters, you just see that with Bank of Anthos, I have only deployed it in one cluster right now. And here in this page, when I click on the Anthos sample cluster, yeah, you can just view the basic details of it in the right-hand side panel, including the type, master version, and location. You can also see which Anthos features are enabled with this cluster as well. And when you click on the more details in the GKE, it opens up to the clusters page in the GKE console as well, with all of the current settings of your clusters. Look, all of them are just filled up for you. The clusters are generated and created for you in minutes time. So here you can just click on the Nodes tab to view all of your worker machines in your cluster. From here, you can drill down even further to see the workloads running on each node, as well as the resource summaries like CPUs, like memory and storage as well. So when we click on what else? So we have several different views, right? So this is the cluster view, and we have also workloads view. So workloads view shows an aggregated view of your workload, so running in all of your clusters. So workloads from GKE cluster and namespace are shown here. For example, workloads in the BOA namespace, Bank of Anthos, it means, are running in the Anthos sample cluster 1 cluster. Cool. And what else? What else we have? We have services and ingress. So the services and ingress shows the project's service and ingress resources. So a service exposes a set of pods as a network service with an endpoint, right? So we need an entry to bank of Antos. So services are an ingress. It's the way of doing that. So ingress manages the external access to the service in a cluster. However, rather than a regular Kubernetes ingress, Bank of Antos uses the Istio ingress gateway. So we have several ways of exposing a service in Kubernetes terminology. Here we are using the Istio ingress way of doing that. So Antos Service Mesh here, by this means, we enable Antos Service Mesh, and the meshes can use to add more complex traffic routing to the inbound traffic as well. So when you click on the Istio ingress gateway, we have more information about the service, including all of its external endpoints. Here is that. And Ingress Gateway manages the inbound traffic to your application service mesh. So in this case, you can use its details to visit the Bank of Antos web frontend. So which one do I click? I click the one with AT, port AT. Just click on it and you have a redirection. Don't worry about it. And we have Bank of Antos user, the front-end service, just showing me my transactions and so forth. So this is the Ingress Istio gateway that helps me to do inbound traffic to my service. So what else? Now let's do some service management, because we have lots of services as I manage here. So these are the number of services I have, but how can I weave these services in a unified way, and how can I control the traffic between them? So the answer is, what is the answer? The answer is the Antos Service Mesh. So let's go to the Service Mesh view. That we see the metrics and traffics in this dashboard. So now we see the applications, services, and traffics. So we are mostly interested in the Bank of Antos namespace. We have, more than just one workspace, of course, and you can filter it from there. So each row in this table is one of the services that makes up the Bank of Antos application. For example, the front-end service renders the application's web user interface, and the user service manages the user accounts and authentication, for example. You can always find those details in our GitHub repo as well. This is really easy to understand. So each service listing shows up-to-date metrics such as error rates and key latencies for that service. And the metrics are collected out of the box, so you don't need to deploy anything on your code or inject any source code in your application. So these are out of the box. You don't need to write any application code as well. So you can drill down from this view to see even much more details about your service. So let's click on the transaction history. So in this view, we see more details about the service. So when we like requests, like error rates, like client error rates, and so forth, and what are the connected services as well. So when I just click on the detailed connected services view, here you can see both the inbound and the outbound connections for the service. So, and also at the bottom you see an unlocked unlocked icon, let's say. So this indicates that some traffic has been observed on this port that is not encrypted. So it is open, that is not using the MTLS. So in further details of this tutorial, you can also have a chance to use the Antos config management to make it secure by applying a simple YAML using this dashboard as well. So it is really easy to do that. And what else? So we have also a health page. So this is the page that I just explained you about the site reliability engineering metrics. So this is the dashboard that we are just reviewing our SLOs and automatically observing which services are reaching our SLOs and based on latency or any other metric. So you can easily create an SLO based on availability, latency, or any other metrics here. So by this means, you have a chance to set your service level indicators and say that, okay, 99% of our time, I want my service to be available. And if I breach this SLO, just warn me, and I will do my root cause analysis to make it healthy again. So it is really good for operators as well. And what else? In Service Mesh, we have also a very nice view of a topology. So this topology view shows the application services and the GKE workloads that implement them as well. So ASM automatically observes which services are communicating with each other to show the service-to-service communication as well. So when you click on one of the services, it shows the outbound QPS from each service as well, like you see here. And on the right-hand side, you see the details of these services as well. So when I expand, you see also the detailed Istio services and the front-end service as well. So this is really cool. And what else? So as I said in my presentation, so migrating to containers is now part of our Google Cloud Console. It was not before. You need to use the command line tools to migrate your Linux or Windows VMs. Now, Migrate for Anthos is an integral part of our Google Cloud Console experience. Here, this tool helps you to move Linux and Windows workloads from virtual machines by creating the workload containers and artifacts as well. So it will be easy to migrate your simple VMs by this means. Very nice. I guess this is all. So what else? I need a small summary here. So what we have talked. So we talked about the benefits of Anthos for developers. So we said that we reduced the developer platform burden by allowing developer to focus on the value-added activities. We establish governance and separation of roles by this means, and we leverage the existing investments and skill sets. And also by this means, we gain flexibility to build, test, and run application across hybrid and multi-cloud environments. So wherever you are running on premises or cloud or any other cloud, Google Cloud Anthos can be a platform in your modernization journey. So it is a TLDR for this presentation, and I highly recommend you to watch this webinar as well. Of course, you see the date is already passed, but you can always open the link, and I will share it in a chat as well, and watch it on demand. So it's really explaining about the cool features of GKE and what we are innovating and what we are still innovating, like autopilot features as well. So I highly recommend to watch you to this webinar on demand as well. Cool. By this way, I just finished my presentation. I'm happily just take over to my beloved ladies. Zeynep, I guess I cannot hear you. Or maybe it's on me. I will also paste the webinar link in the chat as well, if I can. Sorry. This is the link. Yeah, okay. I guess Zeynep has a problem with his microphone. Okay, Zeynep, are you back?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is it better? Okay.
Better.
Well, thank you for this amazing presentation that taught us so much about Anthos. And also, for me, individually, I like the demo so much because when I'm listening about cloud and learning more about cloud, demos help me put all the technical information knowledge in place. So for me, I just love the demo, and thank you for that too.
Perfect. Thank you too.
Also, we do have a couple of questions, I believe, in the chat.
Let's see.
Mm-hmm. So Omar asked, what are the resources you can recommend to us in the field of cloud with TensorFlow? I want to improve both of them.
In TensorFlow area, right? Okay. Yeah, I can share you some few very nice resources. Yeah, I will do it maybe after my presentation or the session have been over. I can also paste it in the chat as well, because it's not that much handy right now. So I will find and share, hopefully. And what else? What are the resources? Yeah, TensorFlow. Perfect. Do you see any other? There is another issue I'm curious about. Does managing all systems in the cloud services side cause any problems? Of course, yeah. While just managing or just migrating your applications or workloads to cloud, you need to do a very detailed assessment. Are these eligible, or what kind of? So, I mean, from my understanding, so you need to look at the workload factors, some team factors, and some strategy factors. So what I mean by workload factors, so is this a new workload or an existing workload that you are talking about? So does the app runs in Linux or Windows or a more legacy environment? So, and what are the functional requirements, like the technical requirements like CPU, memory, and so forth? So is this workload stateless or stateful? So you need to consider that. Is your usage bursty or a steady approach? So because we have several different compute options. So Gkey is one of them, containers is one of them. So you can always use, for example, compute engine, the fleet of VMs, and all, or Cloud Run as an option. So you really need some good analysis on your workload, like the ones that I'm just sharing right now. So that's why after these factors have been analyzed successfully, you can just, I can also paste. So this is also a list that I just prepared for migrating your applications. So I'm just pasting it in here. So these, oh, sorry, it's, yeah, and this one. So by this means, by analyzing your workloads from that perspective, you can easily understand if it is eligible to move to cloud or any other services like than Gkey as well. So yeah, lots of different factors. Maybe I can also talk about this in a much more extended session, but yeah, it really needs lots of attention. Thank you, Omar, for asking this question.
So thank you so much. He has another question that is, cloud is a very large area, and do I need to know everything in this area?
Yeah, again, and a very nice question. So it's a multidisciplinary approach, I believe. So right, I mean, we also in Google Cloud and Google Cloud engineers, we also have different disciplines that we are just focusing on. For example, I'm focusing on more on the application modernization and infrastructure modernization. I have friends in my team that focuses on data and analytics. So please just specialize on maybe some of the areas that you feel comfortable. But in overall, if you would like to be a cloud architect, we have a I will also share this here. We have a cloud architect's pathway or certification pathway that you can easily follow and try to understand what is needed as a baseline to be a cloud architect as well. So here in this link, you can find the key abilities you would like to be assessed as a cloud architect in general. So I highly recommend you to go through this cloud architects pathway to understand more in detail how we are assessing the cloud architects as well. So this is really nice, and this is the way to move forward. And we have also another certification called Associate Cloud Engineer. You can also look through this pathway as well. I will share this one as well. Thanks, Omar. So if you have any other questions for the certifications as well, I'm happy to answer and follow up afterwards.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, as Omar said, for the presentation and for the additional resources too.
Thank you. I hope all will be useful for the community. And thank you very much for having me here again.
I believe it will, and thank you so much for accepting our offer. So thank you, and have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was Nar with her Antos presentation. Now we will have Tanu Sharma. She is a product strategist at Google, and she will be here with her presentation called I Dare to Dream. So welcome, Tanu.
For having me.
Thanks for joining us. It's amazing to have you here.
I'm incredibly honored to be a part of this event.
So how are you?
I am good. Thank you for asking. How have you been?
Well, I've been amazing because we are having all this wonderful women here in our event, and it's just so amazing to share this with all of the community.
Great. That's great to hear.
Okay, so without further ado, I think I will leave you with your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Hello, everyone. I am Tanu Sharma, and I'm currently working as a product strategist at Google. My work entails keeping Google Maps safe and secure for all users across the globe. And today I am here with all of you to talk about my journey from a nondescript town called Ratlam in the central India to working at Google. And I truly am incredibly honored to be given this opportunity to tell you all amazing people my story. Now, the reason why I chose this topic is because I now realize that what I have accomplished is by no means ordinary. And we tend to overlook our accomplishments because we tend to forget what we went through to get to where we are. And there's always something better, a new goal to accomplish, a new dream to chase. And in this incessant pursuit of our dreams, our goals, we often tend to forget to pause and take a stock of where we were and where we have reached. Embracing our past is liberating. Once we own our story, no one else can use it to belittle us, to overlook us, or to underestimate us. I believe that my story could be helpful for someone out there, and if I'm able to help even a single one of you, I'll consider my job done. And I would just like to point this out that I understand the virtual thing is new for all of us. And I am going to be talking for a long time. So I would love for you all to be engaging in the chat. If there's anything that you relate with, please let me know. If there's any experience that you'd love to share with all of us here, please do so. I love to read about what others have done as well. It's the best way to learn something. It's the best way to understand what else is out there. Now, having said that, I'll just get on with my talk here. And not to sound a bit cheeky, but I am living my ancestors' wildest dreams. I mean, no one in my family or my town ever thought that I'll be doing what I'm doing. So I never thought the same. People say that women should break glass ceilings and, just fly off. And while in school, I thought that I was doing so. But what I didn't realize is that there is no singular glass ceiling. There are layers. You break one, and there's another one staring right at you. And growing up, I only knew the things that I didn't want to do. I didn't know what else was possible. So I had my own perceptions of achievable dreams, if I mean, that's what I call them. And don't get me wrong, I am not trying to blame anyone for anything. It's because I know that even the people around me, my friends, family, they didn't know better. I mean, there was no one to provide that kind of example. And sure, there were women doing great things out there. They were getting in top colleges, running companies, but most of them were on television, far away, existing in some form of an alternative reality. And I looked up to women who were running successful businesses, they were running countries, and just being awesome overall. Now, the thing is, for the young schoolgirl in me, as motivating as these examples were, I was really never able to relate to them. The women in newspapers and television seemed to be these alien creatures who were taking on the world, and I didn't have a solid mentor figure who would open my world up, looking at whom I would think that, yes, if they can, I can too. I knew I wanted to do great things, but I didn't know what those things are or how I was going to do any of that. So, to give you a bit of context, while in school, I was this star kid, winning all sorts of competitions, speech, storytelling, debate, you name it, I won it. I even won a silver medal in long jump. But something changed when I started college. So, see, I come from a very middle class family, and the town that I come from is pretty small. I was amazing in Ratlam, but in college, I was just another brick in the wall, sort of. I studied engineering for 4 years at college away from home, and this was the first time when I moved away from my family, from away from my bubble into the real world. So I was living in a hostel, and it was not in the college campus because my dad thought that college hostels are places where people go to stray away from their dreams and their goals. I was living off of a monthly allowance that my dad provided me. And when I just started, I was super confident because I was right out of school. And I thought that I'm still the same star kid. But as the days passed on, I started to believe in this flawed thought that growth is linear. I also mistakenly believed that I was not good enough among my college mates. They were also smart and confident and had so many more experiences than I did. And then, what happened? I internalized this feeling. And this internalization of fear and this feeling of not being good enough is paralyzing. I stopped trying. I justified this lack of effort by saying that I anyway don't have the necessary resources and experience to achieve great things in the world because now my world has become so much more bigger suddenly. I felt like I'm the small fish in the ocean. I wasn't rich enough to afford all of the networking events that were happening. And I was even for quite a long time in this toxic relationship, retreated in my self created microcosm even deeper. I was continually sad and frustrated with how things were going. And the college experience for me was something that I was ashamed of. I always managed to skip over those 4 years of college whenever I was introducing myself to someone because I thought that I didn't do anything then. I kept on beating myself up because I thought that I have wasted my time at college. I saw people do great things, achieving new heights, and there I was, basically useless. But then something changed. Those moments when you have that epiphany sort of thing. One day I just couldn't take it anymore. And in that moment, I decided that this cannot be it. I have no right to give up on that confident little child in me. And so I decided that changing my narrative is my own responsibility. Of late, I have come to realize that our definitions of glass ceilings and our confidence in our own capability is a manifestation of the environment we live in. We believe we can achieve a specific goal, but anything beyond that goal seems too far away from the reach. And this belief should and is in no way indicative of individual ambitions, but of individual circumstances. As a college student, I wasn't aware of the possibilities because no one told me about them. No one cared enough to tell me the important life lessons because no one thought I would need them. Graduating from an engineering college and landing an average job was already beyond my family's wildest dreams. I am the first one in my family to move out of the house and get a job at a tech company, so my parents were already very elated. But I was not as content. I felt that I'm not doing right by the schoolgirl in me, and so I thought I shouldn't settle. And so I kept on going. And as crazy as it may sound, I got a better job at an analytics company. And at the time, I didn't know anything about analytics or what the company that has given me the job even did. I landed a better job, and it opened a whole new world of possibilities for me. Now, again, a bit of context. I am an electronics engineer, so I didn't have any necessary analytical skills. I didn't know the C of coding, but the job promised to teach us everything that we needed to know. Their mantra is learning over knowing. So there was this 2-month training program which included sessions for programming languages such as Python, SQL, R, and other courses such as statistics. And we were told that in case that we fail to gather enough credits from this program, we may be fired. I cried on the third day of the job because I thought, this is it, I will be fired, I don't know anything. So it was very tense for me. I've never even heard of Python before getting into this company. But somehow I managed to swim through this really tough period and even managed to clear all of the subjects to my credit. Albeit not on my first attempt, they were retakes, but still, I'd like to believe that I cleared all subjects. I spent hours and hours studying subject. The distinction between the day and night was so blurred that I don't remember a lot of details from that time. But I do remember that when it all worked out, it was an exhilarating experience for me. The inner child in me was so proud, and this time the tears were of happiness. And that was when I stopped self-censoring my dreams and decided that I won't give up before even trying. I faced plenty of challenges along the way, and clearing the training program was just the first step. But I would say that I was lucky. I was so lucky that I was surrounded by so many strong and passionate women who never said never and constantly helped me in every sphere of my life, both personal and professional. These were real women around me with real skills and struggles and emotions. And seeing them get through life and achieve great things, that is what consoled my inner critic. To give an example, my first manager, she was so patient with me. On the days when I would mess up a deliverable, she would stay the nights with me trying to fix the things. Later on, she would yell, of course. But in the moment, she made me feel that, yes, I am here for you if you need me for anything. And that was one of the best memories that I have from my previous job. And it was not just her. My team lead, one of my team leads, she taught me how to present your work, how to present yourself, how to sell the things that you did. And another manager helped me support when I was struggling to appease a very tough client. She helped me get through those very difficult nights again. And she showed me how to be calm in moments of obvious distress. And through all of these experiences, small ones, big ones, I started regaining all of my lost confidence. And then I went crazy because then I was conducting SQL sessions for new joiners in the company. I even went on to teach over 1,500 new joiners and became one of the best SQL trainers. And I have no background or no computer science background at all. I even designed questions for the entrance test of the company, and it was out of the world. it was then when I was in a good mind space, I also started volunteering with this nonprofit organization that conducts weekend classes for children from underprivileged backgrounds. Um, getting up at 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings and just being with those kids, it is an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. Those kids taught me so much. They were going through hardships, real hardships, and I built a perspective that will stay with me throughout my life. I realized that I am so privileged to be where I am. I realized I've accomplished so much because those kids looked up to me. I developed this humility. Sorry, give me a moment. My throat is bad. Just give me a moment. Sorry, I'm back. I'm suffering through this common cold. Nothing to worry about, but I may go back again to cough. So, yes, where was I? Volunteering, correct. Those kids, I realized because those kids looked up to me. And I developed this humility that there's always someone who will be going through things that are way tougher. After all of this, sometime later, one of my team leads landed a job at Google, and I was floored by her. When she quit the company and joined Google, she invited me to the Google office once as a visitor. And I was like this Alice in Wonderland because Google office is amazing. There's everything. They have so much food. And after that visit, I decided that this is where I want to be. I want to work here. And when I was considering my next move in my professional career, I applied to Google as well. And the only reason I did it is because one of my team leads was there. Looking at her, I believe that if she can, maybe I can too. And but while the application, I knew that I've always thought that my team lead, she is this super smart and intelligent person, and she totally deserves to be where she is. But I wasn't so sure about myself. But I anyway applied, and after going through 4 grueling rounds of interviews and over a month of waiting, I was so happy when I received the job offer. Funny story, I was on a bus on my way to office when I received the call for the interview. I cried in the bus, but again, happy tears. Looking back at my school and college days, I just so wish that there was someone who believed in me, who pushed me to do better. This is not to complain, because I believe our challenges shape our personality, and I am truly grateful for each and every one of them. But I also strongly believe that familiarity alleviates fears. My volunteer experiences with nonprofits, they made it abundantly clear. It is fascinating how a small act of teaching kids over a weekend can change their individual perspective about what they think is possible. Looking at me, they altered their dreams. We want to do what you are doing, is what they would say to me. So I think it's very important that we talk about these issues as well, the issues that we face and how we overcome them. Because in most of the cases, there would be someone who's currently battling similar obstacles, going through similar hardships, and awareness can solve the majority of the problems young girls, women, people from other marginalized genders in tech today are trying to navigate. And so our stories are important. They hold value. And it's very important that all of us never shy away from telling our story to anyone. We need to be visible, not just for ourselves, but for so many others out there who are looking to find a role model, a real role model, someone who they can look up to and say, if she can, maybe I can too. And I believe that our stories, they hold value more than what we give them the credit for. And while I continue to walk on this path that I have created for myself, I hope to return the favor. I hope to empower and encourage as many young girls, women, people from other marginalized genders as I can to create a more equitable tomorrow, my contribution to a more equitable tomorrow. And on that note, I would like to end my talk. And I just want to let you know that I'm just getting started. I haven't reached my prime yet. So I hope that you all got something from my story that you can take back with you, that you can use to help someone who is struggling through something in their lives. And, just stronger together. That is all from my end. I hope it wasn't too long. And I do believe there's some time left. So if there are any questions, any experiences that anyone would want to share, anything that you would like to talk about, I would love to field questions, to listen to your stories. If anyone is out there, if you resonated with something, you'd like to tell an experience, please do so in the chat. I would love to hear you.
Well, thank you, Tanu, so much for this amazing story of yours. That was so inspiring for me, and I believe that everyone who is watching too. And I also want to thank you for being visible for us, for this community, and for everyone out there who is just wanting your support and needing our support. And it means so much that you're here for us today.
I am so glad that I could help in any way that I could.
Well, thank you. Let me see if there are any questions. I believe there are no questions, but there are things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much to you for being here today. And well, I hope that we can see you in other events, so we can get together for other events too.
And I would just like to mention that please reach out to me in case you need any help with your job interviews or anything that you're struggling with. I would love to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it was lovely meeting you, and
Same.
have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. So that was Tanu with her speech on I Dare to Dream, which I found very inspiring. And now we will have our team members. So şimdi aramızda ekip arkadaşlarımız olacak. Çekiliş hakkında bilgi vermek ve çekiliş yapmak için bizlerle oluyorlar ve hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk.
Merhaba.
Merhaba. Nasılsınız?
İyi, sen?
İyiyim ben de. Çok teşekkür ederim. Heyecanlıyım birazcık. O zaman sahneyi size bırakayım. Kolay gelsin.
Teşekkürler. Arkadaşlar 10 dakikalık bir aramıza girdik. 10 dakika sonra Rana'nın videosu bizlerle olacak. Bu arada ne yapacağız? Çekilişimizden bahsedeceğiz. Yayın akışımızdan bahsedeceğiz. İlk önce bir kendimizi tanıtalım. Ben Sevilay Gündoğan, WTM Zonguldak organizatörüyüm. Bu IWD etkinliğini hazırladık ve ben de tanıtım kısmında yer aldım. Elif, sen de bahseder misin kendinden?
Merhaba, ben Elif Kaymaz. Denizli ekibindeyim, GDG ve WTM olarak. IWD etkinliğinde de tasarımlardan sorumluydum. Böyle.
Neval, sen de bahseder misin kendinden?
Herkese merhaba tekrar. Bende ne var? GDG Mersin ve WTM Mersin ekiplerindeyim ben de. Ben de elimden geldiğince tanıtım ve sosyal medyadaki arkadaşlara yardımcı olmaya çalıştım.
Aynen. Çekilişimizden bahseder misin?
Tabii ki bahsedeyim. Bilenleriniz vardır diye düşünüyorum. The Goat tarafından yapılan bir kahve çekilişimiz vardı. Bilmeyenleriniz varsa da şimdi chat kısmından arkadaşlarımız katılım formunu atıyorlar. Bu katılım formunu doldurup siz de çekilişimize katılabilirsiniz. Ve 5 dakika kadar çekilişi gerçekleştireceğiz.
Evet, 5 dakika sonra çekilişimizin yanıtları kapanacak. O yüzden şimdi doldurabilirsiniz. Bizden sonra Rana Abdelmeit olacak, Tracy Lee olacak ve Secure Patrick olacak. Ve yarınki yayın akışımızdan da Elif bahsedebilir misin sen de?
Yarın bir de Meet üzerinden yine icebreaker'larımız başlıyor. Tanışma toplantılarımız var. Daha sonra 1.50'de Merve İşler'le birlikte keynote'larımız var. 14.10'da Zehra Öne ile birlikte Yapay Zekanın Aklında Kadın Var mı sunumu. 14.50'de Aslı Karabulut'la oyuncu odaklı oyun geliştirme sunumu. 15.30'da Merve Noyan ile birlikte doğal dil anlama sunumu. 15.50'de Beyza Bozbey YouTube Data API adlı sunumu ve 16.20'de Demet Kara ile bir panelimiz var.
Teşekkürler. Peki bugünkü Icebreaker'a katılan oldu mu? Katılanlar private chat yorumlara yazabilir. Yarınki Icebreaker'a da hepinizi bekliyoruz. Çok eğlenceli geçiyor. Oyunlar oynuyoruz. Birbirimizle tanışıyoruz. Bu şekilde oluyor ve şu anki yayından memnun musunuz? Nerelerden katılıyorsunuz? Yine chat'e yazarsanız biz de sohbet edebiliriz beraber.
Icebreaker gerçekten çok güzeldi. Yarın herkesi bekliyoruz. Biz çok eğlendik. Eminim ki yarın da gerçekten çok eğleneceğiz.
Güzel oyunlar oynuyoruz. Gelin kesinlikle.
Sizin nasıl geçiyor peki IWD'niz?
Yoğun geçti.
Aynen. Aynen. IWD süreci eğlenceli oluyor zaten ama yoğun oluyor. Biz gayet eğlendik. Bu arada aynen IWD haftasında neler yaptık? I'm Remarkable oturumları oldu. İşte 2 oturum şeklinde oldu. O da iş yerinde ve ötesinde başarılarını yeterince temsil edemeyen insanlara yönelik bir workshop'tır. Bu workshop'lar yine yıl içinde oluyor bir sürü facilitator tarafından. O yüzden sosyal medyalarımızı takip edebilirsiniz. Oradan yine bu workshop'lar olacaktır. Onun dışında Nilay Mertal ve Yusuf Sarıgöz'ün yayını oldu. Yine onu da YouTube sayfamız üzerinden ulaşıp izleyebilirsiniz bu arada.
Bu arada yeri gelmişken, sosyal medyadan da bahsetmişken, I am remarkable bu arada. Evet, şehirlerde geliyor. Hazır sosyal medyadan da bahsetmişken ben bir şeyden bahsetmek istiyorum. Yarın da 2 tane çekilişimiz olacak. Bir hoodie, bir de kitap çekilişimiz olacak. Onların da detaylarını ve katılım formlarına Techmaker Power Instagram hesabından ulaşabilirsiniz. Yine aynı şekilde yarın yayın sırasında gerçekleştirilecek bu çekilişler.
Aynen.
Süper, her yerden var.
Aynen öyle. Onun dışında yarın kesinlikle katılın, yani 2 tane çekilişi var. Bekliyoruz yani yayın
Birbirinden güzel.
Evet, biz de katıldık. Bir de Türkçe olacak. Bu şekilde. O zaman yavaş yavaş biz çekilişlere geçelim. Umarım herkes doldurmuştur. Ben de bakıyorum şu an yanıtlara. Şu an 57 tane yanıt var. O zaman 1 dakikaya kapatalım. Sonra da ben ekranımı paylaşayım, çekilişimizi yapalım.
O zaman son 1 dakika arkadaşlar çekiliş için.
Aynen.
Chat'te var herhalde zaten link. O linkten katılabilirsiniz. Katılım formunu doldurarak.
Hı hı.
Bu arada kızlar biraz şeyi konuşsak. Mesela bilmiyorum, benim aklımda birkaç tane soru var. İçimizde oyunlarla ilgilenenler de var biliyorum. Mesela sohbet edelim istiyorum ben. Bu 1 dakikada ne yapalım? Sohbet edelim. Sizin mesela en sevdiğiniz bilgisayar oyunu nedir? Aynı zamanda chat'e de bekliyoruz cevapları. Hepsini ilgiyle şimdi okuyacağız biz de.
Bilgisayar oyunu Elif'ten sorulur. Elif sen bahsetmek ister misin?
Ben mesela sıklıkla gerçekten Valorant oynuyorum. Ve chat'te oynayanlar var mı mesela? Böyle oyunlar. Merak ettim.
Ben de çok ilgili olmasam da açıkçası çok büyük bir Sims hayranıyım. Varsa sohbet etmek isteyen ben de zevkle sohbet edebilirim bu konuda.
Aynen. Ben çok oyun oynamıyorum ama böyle basit, güzel oyunlar oynuyorum. Fasamofya, korku oyunu var bir tane. Onun dışında Portal 2 var. En son onu arkadaşımla bitirmiştik. Bu arada çekilişimize geçelim o zaman başka. Yanıtları şu an kapatıyoruz. Yanıtları kapattık arkadaşlar. Şimdi ekranımı paylaşacağım birazdan. Ekranımı alalım yayına. Evet arkadaşlar burada gördüğünüz üzere toplamda 62 tane yanıt var. Şu başlık dışında 62 tane yanıt. Ve şuradan random olarak çekeceğim 3 tane. Ve bu 3 kişi kahveyi kazanan olacak. Bir de 3 tane de yedek çekeceğiz. Şimdi çekiyorum. 25. Elif sen de not alır mısın? Hı. Tamam. 24 ve 13. Şimdi bunlara bakalım. Kimmiş? Asıl talihlilerimiz kimmiş? 25'ti. 25 Sinan Özcan. Birinci kazananımız bu. Öbürü 24'tü değil mi?
Evet 24.
Batuhan Yalçın. Diğeri de 13'tü galiba.
Aynen 13.
Tamer Saraoğlu. 3 tane talihlimiz bize Instagram üzerinden ulaşırsa seviniriz bilgilerinizi almam için. Onun dışında 3 tane de yedek çekiyorum. Eğer ulaşmazsanız yedeklere gidecektir. Yedekler 22 numara, 57 numara ve 31 numara.
31. Bunlar
Evet. Tamam. Neydi? Daha söyler misin? Unuttum hemen.
22.
Evet. 22. Minel Özkan.
Tamam.
Tamam. Öbürü.
57.
57 numara Merve Özpalat. Diğeri.
31.
31. Enes Güven. 3 tane de yedeğimiz oldu. Eğer talihler bize ulaşmazsa yedeklere gidecektir. Instagram üzerinden ulaşabilirsiniz. Orada ekranımı alalım. Katıldığınız için teşekkürler arkadaşlar. Yine kahvenin detayını sosyal medyadan bakabilirsiniz. Teşekkür ediyoruz katıldığınız
Umarım
için.
güzel bir etkinlik olur herkes için.
Aynen.
Umarız bugün de yarın da güzel geçer hepimiz için. Çok teşekkür ederiz.
Instagram adresimizi de şimdi chat'e bırakacağız. Bize oradan ulaşabilirsiniz. Yazacağız şimdi.
Şimdi Rana Abdülhamit bizimle
I'm
olacak.
Abdulhamid, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about women's online safety. I'm on Google's Women Techmaker program. I am the marketing lead and partnerships lead for Women Techmakers. Many of you probably know a lot and are part of Women Techmakers, so I won't explain too much about it. But Women Techmakers has a program called the Women's Online Safety Program. And part of this program is to try to ensure that women have the tools that they need to feel safe online. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to walk you through some of the challenges that women face online. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that hopefully you could reflect on. And I will also walk you through ways in which you could fight against online violence if you experience it yourself, or if you see someone around you experiencing it, how you can be an active upstander and how you could intervene and disrupt online violence, which is a huge issue that many women are facing right now, especially during the pandemic. So very quickly, just to explain again, the Women's Safety Training is a series of community trainings bringing together women and allies across the globe to be trained in ways to secure themselves online. We have, over the past year, trained trainers, but also hosted hackathons to bring together women from across the globe to come up with tech solutions to fight against the issue of online safety. And it's been really, really powerful to see what people have come up with. And we're really excited because this upcoming July and June, we'll be hosting a bigger program for women across the globe in hackathons and online trainings to make sure that we can actually fight against this collectively and to make sure that the online world is safe for all women and for all people. The training that I'm going to walk through today is going to go over 3 sections. The first is awareness. I want you all to understand what the challenge is and to understand whether you yourself have experienced this challenge. The second is the tactics. How do you actually protect yourself? And the third is going to ask you to pass it along. How do you keep other women safe? How do you keep people safe online in general? So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that I want you to start by asking yourself, and I'm going to give you a couple minutes to answer them. And in asking yourself these questions, feel free to reflect, to take a step back, to write it out, to speak it out, whatever feels comfortable for you. The first question I'm going to ask you is, why did you join the tech industry? When I think about why I joined the tech industry, I think about the fact that I understand that the tech industry is a really important space, that women need to actually be online because the technology has such huge implications on our lives, from healthcare to education. We need technology and we need the proper representation of all voices in the tech industry to ensure that the challenges that we face are addressed properly, like any space. The second question I have for you is, what was a moment that made you realize the power of technology? For me, as someone who is Egyptian, the moment I realized the power of technology was during the Arab Spring, was during a moment in which women and men and young people from across Egypt came together using Twitter to mobilize to fight against an oppressive regime. And that was really powerful because it showed how young people came together in such an important way. The third question I'm going to ask you is, when was a moment when you experienced being unsafe online? And I'm asking this question also being mindful that this might be a heavy question for many of you to answer. When was a moment when you felt unsafe online? How did people react around you? Did they take it seriously? When I experienced online violence, it was because I was part of an online campaign for women's rights that gave me a little bit of visibility, and people were very anti-Muslim. They were very Islamophobic towards me, and it really hurt. Even though I tried to ignore it, not pay attention to it, it hurt me so emotionally that I didn't go to work the next day. I was in bed. I felt very vulnerable, like really scared, because I was receiving death threats, and I was just scared and feeling vulnerable as a woman, as a Muslim woman online. And the last question is, why is women's online safety important to you? Why is women's online safety important to you? When I think about the answer to this question, I think about the reality that, like, women's safety online is important because women deserve to be safe everywhere. We should not fear being harassed online. We shouldn't fear being harassed on the street. And we should be able to exist, to work, to strive for our professional careers in a way where we don't experience security barriers and we don't fear for our lives. So now that you've answered those questions, I'm going to talk you through what the status of women online is today. Many of you might know this, many of you may not, but women are 27 times more likely to experience online violence than men are. 27 times. And this was research that was conducted by Jigsaw, which is a Google affiliate and Alphabet company that does research online and research to ensure that there's safety in the world. 50% of women who experience online violence also fear for their physical safety. So sometimes people will say, you know, online violence is just an online thing, we shouldn't worry about it, it's not real life. But the truth is, it is. Oftentimes, this online violence translates to offline violence. What are the implications of this? 28% of women who experience online abuse actually reduce their presence online, and 75% change their social media habits. So if you think about the power of technology, the power of social media and making connections, and finding jobs, and meeting people, building relationships, if you're not existing online, then your online footprint and your impact and your ability to engage and your ability to strive in your career is really impacted in a way that is negative because your voice is completely silenced. You're removed from the conversation. So if women are all being removed from the conversation, it's really, really damaging. For women who are in the public eye, experiencing online violence and the experience of online violence is at a much higher rate. We know that in Europe, the US, and Pakistan, Jigsaw's research showed that harassment online drives women offline and out of the public eye. 97% of female journalists report that they experience gendered harassment online. 1 in 7 tweets directed at female politicians include gendered abuse. What this tells you is that it becomes more and more difficult for anyone who chooses to be an online, a public figure, who chooses to step into leadership as a woman. You're not only facing all the challenges and barriers, but you're also now facing this added toll of trolling and online abuse and doxing and harassment. And these become one of the biggest barriers to women coming online. Security and online violence are the biggest barriers for women coming online. So now I'm going to transition into actually thinking about what are some of the ways in which we have witnessed women's safety being threatened. I'm going to talk you through some definitions. Sometimes we don't even realize that something is abuse when it is in fact abuse. We think that something is, it is just normal. It's not that big of a deal. This person is just joking. I shouldn't really care about it. But the reality is, it is violence, and we should know. We should be able to recognize these signs of violence. We should be able to identify them, and we should be able to push back against them because we know that they are harassment and violence. And online violence manifests in different ways. We're using here the UN's definitions, talking about the ways in which it exists. And obviously none of this is exhaustive, but these are just some ways in which women are harmed online. And they're useful to frame and to understand your own experiences and the experiences of people around you. The first thing that I'm going to mention is defined as sexist hate speech, which are expressions which spread, incite, or promote hatred based on sex or gender, such as rape or death threats. So when you're making very specific gendered comments, you're promoting hatred towards someone because of their gender identity, because of their sex, that is sexist hate speech. Impersonation, the use of technology to assume the identity of the victim or someone else in order to access private information, embarrass them or shame them, contact the victim, or create fraudulent identity documents. So for example, someone pretending or falsifying their gender, pretending they're a woman. So for example, you feel safe around them, you befriend them, you feel less threatened, and you might send them information you might not otherwise send other people. That's impersonation. Surveillance, using technology to stalk and monitor a victim and behavior, either in real time or historically. You're in a partnership with someone who's constantly asking you to send your location. Someone in your life is constantly trying to figure out where you are using technology, checking in where you're tagging yourself in Facebook, where you're tagging yourself in Instagram, using that information to be able to follow you. That is surveillance. Mobbing is the act of choosing and targeting someone to bully or harass through a hostile mob deployment, sometimes including hundreds of thousands of people, sometimes including bots. So mobbing is, I identify one person, I get thousands of people to harass them at the same time with one singular message, typically, usually to create shame, harassment, bullying. Catfishing is another type of harassment, which is basically when someone misrepresents themselves online using fake photos, profiles, with the intention of luring someone into a relationship. So the difference between impersonation and catfishing is impersonation is you take on someone's identity. So you pretend you're someone else. You might even pretend, for example, someone might pretend they're me. Like sometimes I see people using my images like for their Facebook profiles. That's impersonation. Catfishing is you might use a generic thing. You might lie about who you are. You use old photos, you use fake photos to get someone to be in a relationship with you. That is catfishing. Harassment, the use of technology to continuously contact, annoy, threaten, and scare a victim. And usually this is coordinated, it's cross-platform, it's constant. Malicious distribution is the use of technology to manipulate, distribute illegal defamatory materials related to the victim. Tactics include the use of synthetically modified imagery, non-consensual sharing of sensitive or doctored imagery of the victim. And doxing. Doxing is very, very hard because sometimes it's very hard to get your information from offline once it's out there. It is including people's full names, addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, emails, and their address just to get them to feel scared, stressed, panicked, to put them in a dangerous situation. And the last thing I'm going to define today is bombing, is the deliberate optimization of malicious information in websites online. So when people search for a target, they immediately see defamatory content. So when someone types your name into a search bar, the top result is a website that is defamatory. It is false. And this is someone doing it intentionally to make you look bad, to make it more difficult for you in life. And sometimes this information can be completely false. When we think about online violence, we have to recognize that you're not in this alone, right? When you experience an act of harassment, when you experience doxing, when you experience abuse, catfishing, impersonation, you are a target within a network of many actors. First, there are oftentimes bystanders, people who see what's going on. These people can either actively involve themselves or they could be silent. There's a support network. You have to remember that you have your friends, you have your family, you have your workplace, you have a community. You could have the media also on your side to help you. There are third-party actors. Within the bounds of law, right? There are legal frameworks that help you fight against online violence. There are platform specialists who can help you get information offline. Fight back. And there are advocates, NGOs, nonprofit organizations. And of course, we can't forget the actual perpetrator. So the actual instigator and the people who follow the instigator, the people who agree to work with this instigator. I'm going to walk you through now a case study on violence against women online that will be helpful for you to really think about, how this might manifest. So this case is a social media case that is actually based in Turkey. This young woman, she has my same name. Her name is Rana. She was unfortunately killed by her father because of photos that she had put online that were meant to be private photos that people circulated. And because under a fit of rage and under the guise of kind of shaming his daughter for the ways in which she was dressed in these photos or her activities, he retaliated against her. And it ended up being that she was killed, unfortunately. And so this is an example of someone taking imagery out of consent, right? Outside of the context of a consensual manner where no one asked her to post these publicly, and sent them to her father, and her father was angry, so it turned into offline violence, and it led to her dying, unfortunately, being killed, being murdered. And so this case is in Turkey, but this is a reality for many women across the globe, different levels of shaming that happen online, different levels of circulation of images without people's consent, right? And it's really important for us to realize how pervasive and how problematic this is. And so I ask you now to take a moment just to reflect on the story for yourself. Write down some notes. How do you feel after hearing the story? It's a difficult one. There are general tips that I want to walk you through for staying safe online. The first is that you could actually control what people can see. You can limit who sees your posts and even how people search for you in privacy settings of your account. And also you control what you put out there. So if you feel like it's not safe for you to put something out there, maybe you should, not put it out there. If you, especially for example, your personally identifiable information like your email address, your house address, or your birth date, putting that publicly can be harmful to you. Don't let potential stalkers know where you are. Try not to use geotags on your post if you're able. Turn off location services on your social media app if you're able. Ensure that you're deleting your history for location if you're being hacked. Report and block, that's my favorite tool. If someone's bothering me, I'm going to report that person. If someone's harassing me, I'm going to block them. Feel free to do it. Don't feel shy. If someone's making you feel uncomfortable, that's enough information for you to block or report them. Subscribe to a service that will delete you from data broker sites. So using Privacy Duck or Delete Me to check to see if you have been targeted for doxing. Checking your email account to see it's not involved in a data breach. So I have been pwned.com to see if your email address or password may have been exposed. And using a VPN can be really, really helpful to encrypt your online activity in order to protect yourself from hackers. Okay, other things you could do. Google yourself. A simple search will show you what kind of information about you is already online. Block Together app is a good app especially if you're experiencing mobbing, that you can block people, block bots that have accounts that have been active under 7 days automatically. And a really great website is techsafety.org. It has definitions of different types of violence and tips on how you can keep yourself safe online. Okay, now say you're actually not experiencing the violence yourself, but you're witnessing violence happen. I encourage all of you to be active bystanders, which means that you should intervene. You should be an ally if you are able, if you feel comfortable. Engage. The number one thing is you want to check on the person experiencing the harassment. So say you go on a Facebook page, your friend, you see like a bunch of hateful comments underneath a photo that she just posted. Message her. Be like, hey, are you okay? Is there anything I could do for you? I know this is really hard. I know it is not comfortable, but I'm here. What's happening is not okay. Make them feel validated. Make them feel supported. Also support by documenting the harassment for advocacy and reporting purposes. Help them by screen grabbing. Help them by making sure that, this stuff, if it gets taken down, like you have it and you send it to them. The third is directly engaging the harasser. You yourself can block a harasser. You can report a harasser, and you can directly say, this is not appropriate. Please do not speak this way. Do not say this. And advocating against the violence is really important. The fourth is you could distract from the harassment. So say, for example, your friend had posted a video about a really incredible app that she just developed, and someone's saying, this is a dumb app, women shouldn't build apps. You could go underneath, you could actually say something opposite. Like you could say, I love this idea. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you for building something that's so needed. So being positive and being validating to the person being harassed is a way to distract from the actual violence. And always checking in on them is really important. And of course, I always ask you to reflect on what experiences have you built over the past couple of years to ensure that you're safe online. We know that everyone, already does things, and those things are really important to your own safety because you understand your safety better than a lot of other people. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is if you experience online violence, remember that people's choice to commit violent actions is never your fault or in your full control. Remember, it's not your fault. No matter what happens, if someone's harming you, the person who's doing the harm is the one who's at fault. We shouldn't have to learn how to keep ourselves safe online because the online violence shouldn't exist to begin with. And in order for that to happen, we need to create change in culture and create change in systems that allow for this online violence to exist to begin with. And so just want to really emphasize that, no matter how much you learn about all this stuff, how much you prepare yourself, it happens. And when it happens, it is always the person who's committing the violence who is at fault and never the person experiencing the violence who's at fault. Great. Well, on that note, I want to ask you before I leave and close, how you will commit to sharing these tips to others around you, how you will stand against violence when you witness it. Take a minute now, write some answers down, reflect on this question, and then last, there is a list of resources which we will be sending around with articles, readings that we urge you to continue to read and learn and better understand this issue. And thank you so much for listening to this talk. And I hope it was useful. And feel free to reach out to me with any questions. My LDAP and my Google email address is something that could be sent to you by your organizer. And again, really appreciate your time, and I hope you found this beneficial. And if you did, hashtag Women Techmakers, hashtag online safety at Women Techmakers. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Rana, for this invaluable speech that you gave to us. I think some of us don't really want to hear those stories, but it is really beneficial for us to know about these events and stories so we could protect ourselves and others better. So yeah, that was Rana with her speech on women's online safety. We thank her for the advice and the speech. Now we will have Tracy Lee. She is an Angular in GDE and CEO of this.lab. She is going to be here with us with her presentation, What is a Good Framework for Building Inclusive Development? So welcome, Tracy.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Tracy. I'm the CEO of a company called This.Labs. We are a JavaScript consultancy, and we are hiring. So if you're interested in working in Angular, React, Vue, et cetera, just let me know. Feel free to reach out anytime. You can find me on Twitter at LadyLeet. I am on the RxJS core team as well. I'm a Google developer expert for Angular. I'm a GDG organizer, a Microsoft MVP, and I just love being a part of the community. So I'm excited to give this talk today as well. And today we're going to be talking about inclusive architecture. It's this thing called PAMSAC, which is this framework for creating sustainable development teams. The idea of PAMSAC is basically this idea of process abstractions and mentorship helping your team be more successful and inclusive. So you might be asking yourself, why aren't members of your team successful? You know, a lot of times people believe that the reason that people don't succeed is because there's a deficiency in the person themselves. But, you know, if you stop and think, you might think about the idea that maybe it's not the deficiency of the person joining the team. Maybe it's actually a deficiency of the actual team. Non-inclusivity and the idea of not thinking about inclusivity first on teams really doesn't just hurt people coming in, but it actually hurts everyone. So if you don't have a good framework for building an inclusive team, you don't have things that make it easy to onboard people and hire them, right? So that's harder. On teams like this, also, there's this thing called a hit by a bus fear, right? Because maybe, you know, you have experts on the team and they're the only person that knows how to do something like deploy, for example, right? What if that person gets hit by a bus later, right? You're not creating, again, an inclusive team with that type of behavior and attitude. Productivity delays as well, right? Like if things are just harder for people, it makes them much harder to actually be able to deliver results. Another thing is lack of advancement and just stagnant careers. Everyone wants to be in a place where they can grow, hopefully. So I want to kind of explore some of these things today. So let's go to the first part of the PAM stack, which is process. And, you know, if you've ever heard of an organization like this, then, you know, you might really kind of resonate with this. So in organizations that only depend on the competence and heroics of the people and not on the use of proven processes, this can definitely be a problem, right? Because again, you're just dependent on people being so good at their jobs, to save the day, right? Versus the idea of having processes first and doing them right. If you have this, all of a sudden on the team, across everybody, you have clear expectations. People know what they're doing. There's greater team engagement and cooperation because, again, everybody knows what they're doing, right? There's no single points of failure. So you eliminate the idea of that hit by the bus fear, right? And there's also less stress during the crazy. Nobody wants to be stressed out every 2 weeks before a release. It'd be nice if that didn't happen and every day was just like a normal day, right? Also, if you have good process, the amazing thing is that it reduces the amount of conflicts within teams and there's fewer power struggles, which is amazing, in my opinion. So it's really, really easy to start implementing things like processes to help your team be better. The first thing to do would just be to create plans, right? So when you're thinking about things, you might be thinking about what needs to be done, who's going to do those things, how should it be done, when should it be done, and just having a general goal and purpose before you start doing something. And that really helps people get on the same page and know exactly what's going to happen. Defining rules and responsibilities is also incredibly important. So this is an example of defining roles and responsibilities for a code review. There's an author, a peer reviewer, an observer, and a developer. And again, everybody knows what's supposed to happen. So it's not like, oh, this person's reviewing my code. Well, they just don't like me. That's why they're reviewing my code, right? Like the author will know that there needs to be a peer review. And also it's really great because the author can then code and, not be stressed out about like, I'm writing code that might break production, right? Because again, you have a peer reviewer. So hopefully you're less stressed out. Creating checklists as well. I love this idea and I do it all the time because when you create checklists, right? Think about if you're just having a bad day at work. If you have a checklist, you don't have to spend so much mental energy remembering what you're supposed to do. You can just look at that checklist and be like, okay, you know what? I can have a bad day and it's totally fine. I can just look at my checklist. Creating checklists for everything you do makes sure that you can minimize errors, teach new team members, right? Team members, let's say if they're trying to set up their environment, if you just give them a checklist on how to do so, it's really easy to help teach new team members. So it's less stress on the team. And again, it reduces the cognitive load, which I think, again, is amazing. This is really great for junior developers as well as you're onboarding into an organization. If they have no process, if you're learning something new, if you create a checklist, it's a really great way to start showing value for yourself right away. Let's go into abstractions. Abstractions, I think we just generally need to recognize that web development is hard, right? Like, every single day, something new comes out. You need to be an expert in performance. You need to be an expert in security. You need to be an expert in accessibility. And it is hard for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a junior developer or a senior developer. Every day something's changing, right? Like, how do we keep up? Well, that is a big issue because complexity and the increase of complexity that we get literally almost every single week, it feels like, becomes a barrier to entry in our industry. But the amazing thing is, as things get more difficult and complex in the web development world, there are amazing things like frameworks that can help. I didn't put Flutter on here, but Flutter is a really great example. For example, Angular coming out of Google is amazing. React, Vue, Svelte, Preact, AMP as well, coming out of Google, Ember. These are all great things. And the great thing about frameworks is that they make it so easy to do the right thing. Using CLIs. So if you're not using a CLI, you should definitely recommend it to your team or try it out yourself. But CLIs are amazing because they give you so many things like out-of-the-box performance because there's automatic differential serving, lazy loading, tree shaking, AOT, compilation, right? Just a ton of different amazing things that, again, you don't have to think about. Zero config environments, smart defaults. You can scaffold a new project easily. Documentation is available. It's easier to migrate between libraries. There's an endless list of why CLIs are so useful. And the great thing about CLIs is you can always eject later on if you're, for some reason, can't use them. Typescript. Typescript is something so amazing. It's awesome. I remember when RxJS was converting to TypeScript, and it was actually quite interesting. Just the migration to TypeScript from JavaScript allowed some of the core team members to realize that there were actually bugs in RxJS, and they would not have found it if it wasn't for TypeScript. So using something like TypeScript as an abstraction within your team is really helpful because it makes it so much easier for developers on your team to understand each other and understand the functionality of projects. Stricter rules means less bugs, which is awesome. There's better error handling, and you can kind of know what to expect and plan accordingly, which is awesome. So if you haven't checked out TypeScript yet, I did see a tweet the other day saying, hey, I just finished a ton of interviews, and if you're not using TypeScript yet, you should, because everyone's expecting you to. So I thought that was an interesting tweet. Design systems, right? I don't know if you guys have been exposed to design systems, but I love design systems so much. And they're becoming so much more common as, kind of like a framework for teams to work better together. So design systems are another great abstraction you all should consider. I only went through a few because I only have so much time, but there are so many other different amazing things, like using state management libraries, for example, using state machines. The idea of using abstractions is, again, just this idea of utilize the tools out there that are given to you to make your lives as developers easier. And if you can make your lives as developers easier, then you can make your lives on teams a lot easier. The last pillar of PAMStack is mentorship, which is like my favorite. I feel like, the idea of mentorship is this whole idea that we're all in it together and we should all be helping each other. It doesn't matter whether you're senior, mid-level, junior, whatever it is, right? Like if we can all lift each other up, how amazing is that? So great thing about mentorship, obviously it's amazing for mentees, right? Like it's going to accelerate learning and growth, increase that confidence, make them more productive, decrease that fear. It's so crazy how just an hour of mentorship, one person is a junior developer on my team, and she was just nervous and scared. And, we just spent an hour with her. And then all of a sudden her work product was 3x the amount that she was doing before, because all of a sudden she had confidence. That's all she needed. Mentees and mentorship, it's also great because this helps increase communication skills. It's really important to be able to talk about what you're doing when you code, increases mobility, and you're really creating a culture, right? When you create a culture of mentorship, mentees then become mentors and kind of pass all these benefits on. It's also really amazing for everyone else in the organization. Recruiting is amazing because, again, you're building a good culture. It increases developer productivity and retention, reduces the knowledge silos. So again, that whole hit by a bus fear, right? Like if people are talking about the code, sharing the code, mentoring each other, it's going to be so much easier for just everybody on a team to understand what's going on versus, again, just one or two people. Creating a more positive and helpful and collaborative team culture is also amazing. This also increases loyalty on the team, of course. And this also is great because good mentors are people that are actually good leaders as well. So if you become a mentor, or mentoring other people on your team is a really great way to show your leadership skills. The idea of mentorship as well also kind of it's a culture shift too, right? It's shifting the role of the senior developer. It's shifting it from saying, hey, you know what? Rockstar developers are not as valued within our organization. Rockstar mentors are actually the people that we want in this organization because they help everyone else succeed, which is even more important than just being one lone wolf yourself. When you do this, you foster this culture of teaching and sharing. You can do this through so many ways. You can have formal one-on-one sessions of mentorship. Code reviews are a great way for mentorship, right? You don't have to be a senior developer to do code reviews. As a junior developer, you doing code reviews and understanding people's code, even if you're reviewing like the most senior person on your team, helps you understand what on earth is going on. And the great part as well is that person let's say you're reviewing the most senior person on your team's code, they're going to have to explain it to you. And again, them explaining it to you and that act creates that culture of mentorship and teaching and learning. And it might be uncomfortable at first if your team is not used to this, but it is amazing if you just keep that practice, what it does for your organization. Pair programming as well is another great way to foster mentorship. Setting up tech talks. If you have a tech talk, just giving 2-3 minutes, hey, this is what I learned. That's a great way to, again, just foster this culture of learning within an organization. And also just having a chat channel. So on our team, we have chat channels, like we have Dev Party, for example. We have Tech Talk, for example, as one of them. And the chat channels are just a great way for developers to like hang out and talk about what's new. And it's really, really inspiring. So hopefully that gave you all just like a little taste on how you can start building more inclusive teams. And, it's amazing what you can do as just one individual and how you can affect your team. Juniors again, right? Like a lot of juniors, after I give this talk, come to me and say, well, how on earth do I use this? How on earth can I do this? So I talked a little bit about the whole idea of checklists, right? So when you join a team, or if you're on a team already and you're being taught things as a junior developer, write them down and then share what you wrote down with the team. Improve the READMEs on your team, right? And if people like that, and they like the idea that like, oh, here's a process. Oh, life is so much easier. Oh, we don't have to explain this to 10 other people, right? Then all of a sudden, your team again has more process in place. Mentor and help your peers who are being onboarded. Again, this is the whole idea of creating mentorship and setting good examples. You don't have to be the most senior person on your team to be able to do so. Also, make sure to ask questions about the project and the code and processes, and just document those and share them with others. You asking questions is so useful because a lot of times, things aren't just the way they are just because they are the way they are. There might not be a good reason, and you questioning that or asking questions is going to really help people say, oh, I never thought about that before. Why is it like this? Should we change it? Ask for code reviews, do code reviews, get feedback, and doing code reviews really helps you understand the code and helps you become a better developer. And again, if your team likes the things that you're doing, the process, the ideas, then ask your manager for it to be formally incorporated into the process. I just love this so much because, all it takes is being inspired and just being that light that teams need to be more inclusive. So hopefully that inspires you all. I've really enjoyed giving this talk. I really enjoyed hanging out with you all today. Happy International Women's Day. Again, we are hiring, so we are 100% remote. You can work from anywhere, so we're completely global as well. And we have just such an amazing team. So feel free to email me at any time or find me on Twitter. You can also email hi@thistalk.co to ask. And I hope to see you all soon. Thanks for having me.
Merhaba arkadaşlar. Sizlere öncelikle kendimi tanıtayım. Ben WTM Sivas ekibinden Deniz Çetinkaya. Sizleri Secure Patrick'in sunumuyla baş başa bırakıyorum.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sequoia Patrick, and I am the global lead for Women Techmakers. And before I jump into my talk today, I just want to take the time to recognize our amazing Women Techmaker ambassadors. These ambassadors are the North Star of our movement, and we are so incredibly thankful for them. They are leaders committed to their communities, using Women Techmaker resources to build space and visibility so that all women can thrive in tech. So thank you, ambassadors, and thanks to everyone for tuning in today for our International Women's Day event. If you don't remember anything from my talk today, just remember this: resilience is key. Sometimes I ask myself, why me? Why did I get chosen for this job, or this promotion, or this win in life, whatever it is? And that's the good side of things. But on another note, and in the very same fashion, oftentimes I would find myself saying, why not me? Why was I overlooked for this or couldn't get that? Was I not good enough? But then I had to change my mindset and the way that I approach things. I want everyone to take a second to think about that and the time when you felt like, why not you? And how that made you feel. Not great, right? So let's break that down and talk through how to change that mindset and turn what you thought was a setback when things don't always go your way, because let's be honest, sometimes they don't, into a comeback and an overall just a positive outlook on life and any situation that may be thrown your way. I'm going to talk about 3 points today, but before I get into that, I wanted to talk about this quote that I love. I love this quote by one of my favorite poets, Maya Angelou. She said, "I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it." Super powerful, right? So today I want to touch on the 3 key elements that I feel have helped me and that are truly essential to resilience and not being reduced by the world and the changes around you. Think of them as the 3 C's: challenge, commitment, and control. Personal control, that is. So let's dig into the first element of challenge. To be resilient, you have to view a difficulty as a challenge, not as a paralyzing event. Look at your failures and mistakes as lessons learned and as opportunities for growth. Don't view them as a negative reflection on your abilities or your own self-worth. Relax, practice thought awareness, and edit your outlook and your perspective on life. I remember my first manager, when I first got to Google, told me that it's okay to fail, but to fail fast and to learn from it. And that resonated with me so much in my professional life as well as my personal life, because it's so important to choose progress over perfection. And even when presented with a difficult situation, to have a positive image of the future, envisioning brighter days ahead. I also had to learn quick that life and all that comes with it isn't a sprint, but it's a marathon. So I learned to relax. I was on the track and field team in high school, and I was a sprinter. And I can tell you, while sprinting is fun and you get that adrenaline rush in the moment, it's nothing that you can keep up for a very long time or would even want to. So with that being said, focus on being happy with what you have right now while working for what you want. And always remember, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start in order to be great. The next key element that I want to touch on is around commitment. To be resilient, you also need to be committed to your own life and your goals. Figure out what is your compelling reason to get out of bed in the morning, no matter how big or small that is. In order to figure that out, you will need to create solid goals and have a desire to achieve those goals. And don't just think of commitment in like a professional aspect for work or maybe even for school if you're in school, but you also have to commit to other areas within your personal life. These include your relationships, your friendships, and the causes and beliefs that they care about. Community and relationships with others who you can lean on and oftentimes help to lean up are so very important. I cannot stress that enough. I know I wouldn't be where I am today without my commitments to those within my communities, and in return, their commitments to me. For women tech makers, especially, even in my short time on the team, the community continues to impress me so much with their creativity and passion for creating a safe space to connect, educate, and inspire women through events like today's International Women's Day event. I love this year's theme of courage to create, and I love attending the events and hearing from our community on what they have the courage to create. I truly believe both courage and creating take commitment, and understanding what everyone has the courage to create shows me the resilience of this community and makes me so proud to be a part of the team. For me, courage to create means acknowledging my power as a woman and what I can bring to the table, acknowledging my skill set and not letting imposter syndrome set in when things get tough, but more so using those tough times or setbacks or obstacles that I may face as a mechanism to launch something new and to be resilient and set goals when wanting to build something super impactful. Last and certainly not least, I want to touch on the element of personal control. To be resilient, you need to spend your time and energy focusing on situations and events that you personally have control over. Don't spend time worrying about uncontrollable events that can oftentimes leave you feeling lost, helpless, and powerless to take action. Because when you put your efforts where you have the most impact, you will feel empowered and confident. I try to remember this quote: worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles, but it takes away today's peace. And listen, I'm here to tell you, there is nothing like personal peace and knowing how to protect that peace. But in essence, protecting your peace is up to you and a key element of personal control. You have to learn to choose how you will respond to situations and maintain your perspective within those situations to always keep a positive outlook to protect that peace. Now, I'm by no means saying that sometimes life isn't hard or we won't have worries or that embarking on a new journey, whatever that is, won't be scary. But it's good to know that sometimes it's about having that fear, but moving forward anyway. Resilience is knowing that you are the only one that has the power and the responsibility to pick yourself up. Visualize your highest self and start showing up as her or him. So to recap today, taking control of your life, your goals, your career, and your relationships, your focus and your outlook, and remaining resilient in these efforts are all up to you. Always remember the 3 key elements that we touched on today: challenging your thought process, committing to improvement areas and setting goals, and controlling what is within your means. Oftentimes, I feel like we as women are just resilient by nature, but it never hurts to be reminded of our greatness and how to achieve it in case we forget. With that being said, I want to challenge you all to have the courage to create, the courage to go after what you want in life and be resilient in your efforts to get it. Always remember this: you are capable, you are so truly gifted, and that you are the person for the job. Each and every one of you at some point will be assigned a mountain in life, but it's not to quit or to give up, but to show others that through resilience, that mountains too can be moved. Thank you.
Merhabalar tekrardan. Ne yazık ki her güzel şeyin olduğu gibi bunun da sonuna geldik etkinliklerimizin. Bugün birbirinden değerli çok güzel konuşmacılarımız bizlerle birlikteydi. Yorumlar gerçekten çok değerli ve kıymetliydi. Özellikle ilham konularında hani birisinin hayatında iz bırakabilmek bence çok kıymetli bir şey. Ben bugün yayınları izlerken bunu daha iyi anladım. Farklı kültürden daha önce hiç tanımadığımız birisi hayatımıza iz bırakabiliyor kendi hayatından bahsederken ya da verdiği örneklerle. Çünkü hepimiz bir mücadeledeyiz, bir yaşam mücadelesindeyiz ve kariyerimizde belirli zorluklarla karşılaşıyoruz. Ya da bazen ilhamımızı yitiriyoruz, bazen hayatımızda her şey istediğimiz gibi gitmiyor. Ama bu noktada bu kişilerden destek almak, onların da böyle sorunlarla yaşadığını bilmek ya da teknik anlamda destek isteyebileceğimiz birileriyle tanışmak bence bu tarz etkinliklerde çok kıymetli. En güzel şey diyebilirim. Benim için çok güzel bir etkinlikti. Etkinliğimizin 1. gününün sonuna geldik. Arkadaşlarıma da söz vereyim. Onların da etkinlik hakkındaki fikirlerine değinmek istiyorum. Burcu senden devam edelim istersen.
Tabii Nur, teşekkür ederim. Bence de öyle. Yani insanların ilhamını kaybettiği zaman bu tarz konuşmaları dinlemesi bence çok güzel bir şey. Cesaret veriyor ve gerçekten iyi hissettiriyor. Arka tarafta yayın bizler için çok güzel geçti. Umarım sizler için de öyledir arkadaşlar. Bizimle bugün yayında olduğunuz için çok teşekkürler. Ben bu kadar söylemek istediklerim benim için. Sözü Zeynep'e bırakayım.
Teşekkür ederim. Ben de Nur ve Burcu'ya tamamen katılıyorum. Çok değerli konuşmacılarla birlikteydik bugün ve kendi açımdan konuşmak gerekirse çok fazla şey öğrendim ve bazı konuşmalar dönüp tekrar izleyeceğim konuşmalar olacak muhtemelen. İlk gün İngilizce ile başladığımız bu session'ı yarın Türkçe session'ıyla devam ettiriyoruz. Yarın da muhteşem konuşmacılar bizlerle birlikte olacak. Hatta birazcık bahsetmek gerekirse yarın bir de yine bir icebreaker'ımız var. Oraya da hepinizi davet ediyorum buradan. Daha sonra Merve İşler'in Türkçe keynote'uyla devam edeceğiz. Sonra Zehra Öney, Aslı Karabulut, Merve Noyan, Beyza Bozbey ve en sonda Demet Karaeli ile birlikte olacağız. Yarın da bu şekilde.
Bu arada yarın da çekilişlerimiz olacak. Tekrardan bunu belirtmek istiyorum. Bugün bizimle olduğunuz için, zaman ayırdığınız için hepinize çok teşekkür ediyoruz. İyi ki buradaydınız. İnşallah daha niceleri olur. Daha güzel etkinliklerde görüşmek dileğiyle. Hepinize hoşça kalın.
Hoşça kalın arkadaşlar.
Hoşça kalın.